Hey everybody, welcome to my guitar time. Today's episode, we're gonna go over some special guitars. Just recently, I have acquired this Chibson, and we're going to compare it with a real Gibson. I'm gonna compare it to this Gibson Classic that my friend Vinny let me borrow. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna compare sound, playability, electronics, the neck, the fretboard, everything that I can. So let's go ahead and get into this. Okay, so the way I'm gonna do this is I had some people send in some questions. So I'm gonna go down my list right now and just go through the list of questions that they sent in and just try to answer them the best that I can. Okay, so the first question we have is the appearance of the two guitars. How do they level up to each other? How do they compare? So let's take a look at the real Gibson first. Okay, this is the Gibson Classic that my friend Vinny sent me. And first we're gonna take a look at the finish. If you can, bring the camera down a little bit and we're gonna look across it real quick and you can kind of see the finish. That's a pretty looking guitar. Now something I noticed in the Gibsons is in the finish, I can see like little bumps in the clear coat. It's weird, like you can see the wood grain, okay? And it gives it a little bit more depth and a little bit more, I don't know, character, so to speak. So now we'll come over to the Chibson guitar, and this is where you can really tell one of the big differences right now in the cheaper guitars. So if we come down and look real good to the finish, you can see it's totally smooth. That means to me that it's probably a veneer top, okay? Now I haven't checked yet, like I haven't taken the pickups out yet to see the wood in there, okay? But I can tell there's no depth into the wood, like it's a veneer. But the binding on this guitar is really nice. See how that's done? I don't feel any rough edges. I don't see any blemishes around it. I like the 3 lines that go around the top. It's very nice. Okay, and then over here on the $3,000, I shouldn't say $3,000, I just call it the Classic. It's just a basic binding, you know, so, and that's all the way around the guitar, of course. So let's come over here to the side profile. Here we go. And you can see the finish looks nice. I got some fingerprints on it because I've been playing the heck out of it. Okay, now let's look at the other guitar real quick. See that? Nice. But you can kind of see the ripply top and see where the circle is from my lighting and stuff. You can kind of see it's bumpy. Yeah, but it looks nice. Now, let's go up and through the pickups right there. You know, they look like pickups, yeah. But let's go up and let's look at the neck real quick. Look at that. We have the lightning bolts, okay? Everything looks really nice there. Everything looks really nice. I personally think for $200, they did a really good job on the inlays. Now let's come down here to the headstock. Okay, so now, on appearance, one of the first things I know, it's a little dirty right now because I've been playing it. One of the first things I noticed is this bell. It's crooked. If you notice, the bottom part is off to the left just a little bit, or off to the right, whatever way you're looking at it. It's not quite centered, and that's kind of a drag because everything else looks really cool. And if you look up here at Ace's face, that actually looks pretty good in comparison to the real one that I've seen online. So that's not bad. Now, let's look at the actual Gibson on here. On the camera, you can't really see the depth, the color of it. I don't know if I, there you go. Kinda, there you go. You can kind of see that there. That looks nice. I think that looks really nice. Okay, now, here's the only thing, is it's not a real Gibson, right? Right. So that sucks, but does it really? So then let's take a look at the very top here, and I want to show you something. So if you look at this, they could have done this just a little bit better. It could have come in and dipped in just a little bit more. And there's a little blemish in the paint right there. You see that? There's a little dot. Okay. So, but other than that, really, the headstock looks great. Now, let's go over to the Classic real quick. We'll look at the headstock. Oops. Let's go back over here to the headstock here. Now, let's take a look at that. That is a pretty straight up Gibson headstock. Pretty basic, nothing real fancy. Okay, it says Classic there. Okay, and then let's look at the Gibson tag on top there. And I'm trying to get it to shine to where you can see the color. And it's a little bit hard. Oh, it's kind of there. But it doesn't look, there's a little bit. It's harder to get the color out of that. Yeah? So it doesn't pop as much, it seems like, on this one. But let's go down to the other end of the guitar here. Okay. Okay. Oh, let's look at the neck. And I don't know what they call these kind of inlays here. They look pretty traditional Gibson style. You know, oh, that looks nice. But look how nice and clean cut those are. The edges on those look really nice. You can tell it's probably real mother of pearl. It's got a lot of depth to it. Looks really nice. Okay, now let's come around. And the binding looks nice. All right, now that's our overall appearance. Okay, so the two guitars, as far as appearance goes, I mean, personally myself, they both look great. I mean, really they do. The Gibson looks a little, the Chibson looks a little bit flashier because of the headstock. It's got Ace's fish on there. I do like the smooth look. It looks cool. It's not the same, obviously, as the other guitar, but I think for $200, they've knocked it out of the park. There's no blemishes in the paint job at all. I'm really happy with this. So I would say, as far as these guitars go, in the finish and overall appearance, I think they rank equal. That's my own opinion. I think the appearance, they look equal. So that's the appearance. Okay, so the next item on my list of questions was the weight of the guitar. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this guitar and I'm gonna set it on the scale that I have here on the ground, and we're gonna check it. Okay, so here is the real Gibson. And can you see the weight on that? Yep, it says 8.4 pounds. All right, now I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna grab the Chibson. Now, let's get this one here. Okay, let me start the scale. Whoa, holy cow, they both weigh the same. To me, that's incredible. I was not expecting that. I don't know. So, on weight, the Chibson came in as a tie with the Classic Les Paul. Okay, next on the list, we have the bridges. Okay, so let's take a look at the Gibson Les Paul's bridge. Okay, you know, these kind of saddles, these bridges and stuff, I'm not usually used to these kind. I can't remember what they really call them, but I do know when I have to work with them and set them up, the part that I look at the most is like how this sets into the guitar, how you adjust it, which is this piece here, and then how these saddle pieces move, okay? Now what I've noticed about this particular Les Paul is these saddle pieces are like tighter. So when you move the screw, they don't feel all loose and jiggly and stuff. and it's very easy to adjust this. Now I don't want to adjust this because this is Vinny's guitar and he has it set the way he likes it, okay? Which feels very close to my guitar. So then we'll go over to this one here. Now, by first appearance, it looks very much similar to the Gibsons, okay? Now, I know that they probably used a cheaper one with like a pop metal probably and stuff like that, but it looks nice. The one thing I did notice was that these saddle pieces here are real jiggly and stuff like that when I'm restringing the guitar, and when I had to intonate it, it seemed like, which I barely had to intonate it, it just seemed like it was cheap. You know, the screws felt wiggly and cheap and stuff like that. So, I mean, it wasn't as tight. So I could tell it was a lesser product, but it works, okay? The adjustment is on top, and you have to use a screwdriver to adjust it rather than a thumb spin piece like down here. I personally like this better than I do the thumb spin pieces. I just do. I've always liked the screwdriver part better. Something I noticed is that these set into the guitar right here, and then on the other one, this almost looks like it sets on the guitar, which I haven't taken it apart to look at it, but that's what it looks like to me. Now, I don't know how much of a difference that plays in the sound of the guitar. So when it comes down to it, you know, I think the bridges are comparable. The Gibson is more solid, but as far as intonating it and setting them up, they're kind of the same, honestly. I guess we'll have to see further in the tonality when we play them later on, if that, I don't even know how we would test that to see if that makes a difference in the sound. But we'll listen to the tones later on. But anyhow, that's the bridges. Okay, next on the list is tuners, okay? To me, tuners mostly are a feel thing. I don't know how much they actually change the tone of the guitar, but I feel for mechanics and how well they turn, how much they actually move the string when you're tuning them, and is there any slop or play in the tuner? So let's look at the Gibson real quick. Okay, you can tell these are the older style of tuning pegs, like you always see on Gibsons. Okay, now from what I've noticed, I've played this guitar several times now just to compare them, and the tuning on this guitar stays very stable. I've noticed that these are very tight. There's no slop or play in the turning of the peg, so that's good. They look older, they don't look new, but they're definitely a solid tuner. So now if we come on over here, these are a copy of Godot, okay? And they do have some slop in them when you turn them. Okay, like this one right here. This one has a little bit of slop right there. I can feel it. Okay, that one does too. That one does too. So, I mean, I can tell they're cheap. Now, oh, there's some plastic on them still. I never took off. But here's the thing. I can deal with that right now. You know, tuners, they're kind of one of the last upgrades that I would probably do on a guitar, I think. So these are gonna stay on there. They look okay. They're getting the job done. The guitar actually stays in really good tune. I have taken it off my wall several times and picked it up and played it right away, and it stayed in perfect tune. So as far as tuners go, the Gibson beats it with the real Gibson tuners, but with the Chibson, it stays in tune and these work. So if you're looking for the old style and old school tuners, go with the real Gibson. But if you don't mind, yeah, you can go with the Godos right here, or the knockoff Godos. Okay, so the next question was, how's the nut on the guitar compared to a real Gibson? Well, let's go down and look at the real Gibson real quick, right at the nut right here. Okay. I don't know much about this particular guitar. I don't know if that's bone or if that's just a plastic nut. Being a $3,000 guitar, I would think that it was probably bone. I'd like to think it was bone. It seems to work very well. And the height of the nut is really nice when I play it. It feels good. It's not too high, it's not too low. There's no fret buzz in there. Okay, now let's come over to the Chibson. This is a plastic nut. I can tell it's a plastic nut. I can see the shine on it, and I can see kind of some burrs. If you bring the camera over here, you can see in the front here, right there, there's a little burr right there. And I guess you could have burrs on a bone nut too, I guess. But this, I think this is plastic. Now, here's the thing. I have not had any tuning problems. It stays stable even after playing, even like when I'm really bending notes real hard and everything. I don't notice any slipping. Even when I tune the guitar, there's no like catching sounds or anything like that. So I would have to say, as far as the nut goes, the nut height and the grooves, everything seems to be great on this. I don't have any fret buzz up here when I play it. It doesn't feel like the action is too high or anything up at the top. So between these two guitars, I would say that if this is bone, it's probably gonna help the tonality, but the plastic one over here, honestly, does a really good job. So I guess it's personal preference. Do you like bone or do you like the plastic? To me, the plastic is working. I'm not gonna change that out. It's working just fine. Okay, so next on the list of questions is, how are the frets? You know, on the Gibson, the frets are great. They're absolutely great. Everything seems flat. There's no high spots. There's no dead spots. It's really nice. I'm gonna pick it up here real quick, and I'm gonna grab a pick. Okay. It's really good all throughout the guitar. Okay. Nice. Oops. User error. Okay, so that one does really well. I mean, I didn't ever really question that on the more expensive guitar, okay? The neck is set nice on that. The frets are nice on it. When I first got the Chibson, I pulled it right out of the box and I started playing it, and I noticed that the frets were not shiny. They were very dull, dry feeling. And when I first picked it up out of the box and played it, the strings almost felt like they drug across the fretboard. Okay, so I could really feel a lot of resistance. So one of the first things I did is I took the strings off and I polished up the frets. They look a lot better, they play a lot better, but in that I did find that there's some high spots. Listen to this one right here. Oof, that's really bad. But right here, bam. Okay, does that ruin the guitar? Absolutely not. Those are things that can be fixed, okay? Now, the neck is nice and straight, so I've checked that part, and all the rest of the frets are good. I went through it and I checked them out. So, $200 guitar from China, straight out of the box. I did polish the frets. I did find a dead spot at the 15th fret and at the 16th fret on the D string. So I will have to try to level that out and see what I can get out of that. As far as everything else goes, as far as the fret work goes, honestly, it's really good. I can run my fingers along this edge here, and there's no sharp points. There's nothing sticking out on the edges. It's not lifting. or anything like that. And on the Chibson, or I mean on the regular Gibson, same thing, nice and clean. So I'd say the Gibson all the way around wins because they don't have any dead spots. The frets were polished, they were clean, there's no dead spots. And yeah, so the Gibson wins on this one because I have to do some work on the Chibson. Okay, the next question was by, let's see here. Oh, my friend Tony. He was asking about the neck profile and radius. I don't have any tools to check the radius, okay? But I can definitely tell you that the Chibson feels very flat on the fretboard. So I like it because it feels more modern, okay? The Gibson does have a little bit, I think a tiny bit more of a radius to it, but it's a little flatter too, and I like it. But I have to say, I like the flatness of this better, okay? That's just my own preference, okay? Now, as far as the neck goes, the Gibson is thinner. You can see that if you do a side shot up close. You can definitely see the Gibson on the left is a thinner neck than the Chibson. Now, I usually don't like a thicker neck, but this one is very comfortable. It's very rounded and it fits very well in the hands. So I'm actually pretty happy. The back of this Gibson and the thinness of this Gibson is more like what I like on my other guitars. So I like the thinner necks a little bit better. But because this one has a flatter fretboard, the Chibson, I like that better than the regular Gibson, okay? So right now, that's kind of a personal preference, but the Gibson is a little thinner. The Chibson is a little bit thicker and flatter on the fretboard, to my feel. I wish I had more like technical specs for you, and I wish I had the tools to measure them out and actually give you the diameters and all that kind of stuff, but I just don't have that. Maybe in another video we can take a look at that, but right now, this is kind of a personal preference type thing, and honestly, I kind of like the way that this one feels, okay? And that's just my preference. Okay, the next question was about the electronics, and that was Larry, my friend Larry, that sent in that question. He wants to know, you know, what I think of the electronics between the real Gibson, okay, and the Chibson, obviously, okay, the pickups. Now, so first thing that I look at is I look at the pickups, obviously. These look like Duncan's. I could be wrong because I haven't opened it up, and my friend, he's a drummer. He doesn't really know much about the electronics in the guitar. But, you know, I see a lot of DiMarzios in Les Pauls too, so anybody who wants to, you know, drop me a comment in the video down below, you can do that. But let's go ahead and flip these over, and I'm gonna actually, oh, I know something I noticed right off the bat. Okay, look at the pickups look at, those are nice and solid. Yes, they do rock back and forth a little bit, but that's only, they rock a little bit, okay? They're snug, but take a look at this, you guys. This is cheapness. Look at that. Look at the play in that. Ugh. Yeah, these are cheap pickups too. You can definitely tell, but this one moves a lot too, see that? So there's something going on right there. I am going to swap out these pickups because personally myself, I don't care for them that much. But as right out of the box, $200 guitar, they don't sound horrible. So let's go check out the wiring in this guitar here. We're gonna take off the plate. Okay, and we're gonna get the other guitar ready as well. Okay, so we're gonna take off this plate real quick. Okay, and then we're gonna take off the plate on the Gibson real quick so that we can do a side-by-side comparison. I'm not going to adjust any wiring in these. I'm just looking. I just want to see what these cavities look like in the guitars too. I want to see if they are any finished or if they have any shielding in them. And I want to compare that. I want to see what the wiring looks like on the pots, basically. Okay, so let's take off this cover if I can get it off of there. Ooh. Hang on a second. Okay, so now let's look at the Chibson, which was a pain in the butt to get this out. This is way too tight. I'm gonna have to figure something out. Okay, first of all, let's look at the aesthetics of this. It's got the engraved Ace Frehley signature on it. That's pretty cool. Okay, we'll set that there. Now, look at the inside of the nicer guitar. Look at that wiring in there. Beautiful. I mean, that looks awesome. That's what you would expect to see, you know, in a $3,000 guitar. It looks clean. Even the body, the bottom plate there. Yeah, that's nice. Now let's come over to the Chinese guitar. Oh my goodness. It looks like a swampy mess in there. It looks like a swampy mess. Look at that, yuck. Okay, no comparison if you ask me. Just no comparison. So obviously wiring on the real Gibson absolutely wins. So I'm gonna have my friend either Tony or Josh redo this for me because yeah, this isn't gonna work. So Gibson, you win. Okay, the next question is playability, or feel, not playability, feel. So the feel of this guitar, I kind of answered this earlier. The neck profile on this feels really nice. Like the front of it's very flat. The frets feel really well, except for the dead spots, of course, the two. And then, but then the back of the neck, it feels very comfortable. But, you know, so as far as playability or feel goes, it feels really good. The string height is perfect on this for me. I did do some adjustments when I got it out of the box. So that part is really good. I cannot complain about the way this guitar feels. It feels just like really any of my other guitars, except for the neck being a little bit thicker. But since the front feels flatter, it feels very similar, just a little beefier. So the Chibson feels good. Let's check out the other Les Paul. Okay, so this is on feel as well. Right off the bat, the first thing I know about, or can tell you about feel, is has a tighter feel. The guitar seems to have a more solid feel. I don't know how else to explain it. Maybe the wood is, or it probably most definitely is a better grade of wood. But there is a certain tightness in like the strings. The strings don't feel as spongy, even though they are 9-gauge strings, just like the other ones on the Chibson. So there's something about that. And now I don't know if that has to do with scale also, like if the scale is different. if that makes the strings feel more spongy. But right now, this feels tighter. It's got a more solid feel to it. Yeah, this guitar definitely has a tighter feel to it. Now, that doesn't mean that the $200 guitar, the Chibson, feels bad, okay? They just have a different feel. This one feels tighter. The strings don't feel as spongy. The Chibson, the strings feel a little spongier, looser feeling, which I kind of like. So, this feels like it's got a little bit more quality to it. And how do you really judge that in feel? And I don't know. It's just there's a certain solidness, a certain tightness, a certain feel to it that just feels higher quality than the Chibson. But the Chibson does play well. So that's my comparison. Okay, so next we're going into tone. This one is the Nerdsville of Nerdsville, if you ask me. And tone can be subjective. You know, everybody has their own preference in the way they want their guitar to sound. Personally, I think this guitar sounds pretty good for a $200 guitar. So first thing I'm going to do though is I want to test this. Acoustically with no amp, I don't think that sounds too bad. Now, keep rolling the film. This was my own personal test because I think guitars have a different characteristic acoustically. So let's go. All right, now I don't know if you could hear the difference, but I could definitely hear a difference between the two guitars acoustically. Did one sound worse than the other? No, but they do sound different. And I would have to say this one's probably made out of more dense or a better wood, which is the actual Gibson. So it might have a little bit brighter sound and a little bit tighter sound. But I'll be quite honest with you, the Chibson did not sound bad. Let's go back over to the Chibson real quick. All right, let's plug the old Chibson in. See what we got. Okay, first of all, we're gonna start with the back pickup. We're just gonna wide open. So this guitar doesn't seem very bright to me. It kind of has a dull sound to it right now. And that's on my back pickup. Let's throw it on the front pickup here. Not too bad. It's not top of the line pickup. I could tell it's a cheap pickup. But think about it, $200. That is not bad for $200, okay? The pickups also need better mounting. Obviously, I can tell they're cheaper pickups, and the installation wasn't all that great, and obviously you saw the wiring in the guitar, so you know the wiring's not the greatest. Let's go on over to the real Gibson real quick. Ready to rock? All right. Oh, right off the bat. You can tell a big difference. Excuse me, right off the bat, you can definitely hear the clarity. The pickups are obviously way far superior, and they're brighter. They have more definition to them. You can hear the string clarity better. It's definitely a better sounding guitar all the way around. Let's go to the front pickup real quick. Okay, the Gibson wins. The Gibson wins on the sound by far. So I am probably going to switch out the pickups in my guitar, in my Chibson, and see how that goes after that. I think I'm gonna be happy with that. Plus I'm gonna get the wiring swapped out on that guitar too. So hopefully that'll make a difference and it'll brighten it up and liven up that guitar. So Gibson, you win. Go ahead. Okay, so on these guitars, I've noticed something real quick. Right here, the guitars look dead even at the neck. And then as we come up, check this out. The Chibson on the right is taller. I don't know why that is. Okay, but it is. It's just a difference I've noticed. Is that the reason why it feels spongier in the playing? It might be. Okay, so the next thing on the list was tuning. How well does it stay in tune? Well, let's check something out. Let's get it. Let's make sure she's tuned up. Okay, get our tuner out, and let's see what we have here. Okay, we're a little flat right at the moment. I just tuned this up from a half step down. I noticed they were different between the two guitars. So right now I have it on a clean channel. Let's give it some juice. Check the tuner up there. Okay, so it slipped just a little bit. All right, that's the Chibson. It seemed like it did a pretty good job. Let's check the regular. Let's check the real deal, Daddy-O. Let's turn this around. Okay, now let's check the Gibson. Bring it up. Let's check it. G's out just a touch. Hey, just a little bit. All right, well, I know that was a quick test, but I played these guitars like over and over and over again throughout the weeks. And I'll be quite honest with you, they both stay in pretty good tune. When I play hard, and most any guitar without a locking system will probably slightly go out a little bit from time to time, but these guitars have stayed pretty stable. My main point here is the Chibson, for being a $200 guitar, stays in really, really, really good tune. I can pick it up off my wall after not playing it for a full day, and it will still be in perfect tune when I pick it up. So with that being said, I think the Chibson stays just as good tune as the Gibson. Okay, so I hope you guys all really like this video. I wasn't sure what it was gonna be like or what it was going to entail. I've never done a video like this before, so this was all brand new experience for me. I had fun doing it, and I have to say, I have to give big thanks to my son Blake. He helped work the camera on all this and allowed me to play guitar. So, and go over the guitars, and he did all the filming. So, this was all new to both of us. But, what do you think? I mean, they both look beautiful. They both sound pretty darn good. I mean, the Gibson sounds awesome, really it does. The Chibson sounds okay. It needs some work. It does need a little bit of fret work up here. You know, as far as finishes go, I think they both look outstanding. They're both different, but they both have their own cool things about them. You know, they both weigh the same. I could not believe that. They both weighed the same. Playability, I think they both feel great. I personally cannot believe it, but I like the Chibson better as far as playability. As much as I like a flat neck or a thinner neck, I didn't care for the thinner neck on the Gibson. Tuning pegs, hands down the Gibson one. Altogether, I would have to say, oh, and the pickups obviously and the wiring were better in the Gibson, obviously, much better. So overall, the Gibson won. But we gotta keep in mind, $3,000 for this guitar or $200 for this guitar? I don't know. Personally, myself, I think I made it a pretty good deal here, and I think I kind of struck it rich with this particular guitar. Now, it's not a Gibson. I cannot sell it and be like, hey, this is a Gibson. I can't do that. You know, I'm stuck with this guitar forever as far as I'm concerned. You know, somebody also asked and said, how do you feel as a person? Like, how, you know, like what moralistically, how do you feel moralistically on buying a Gibson? Or I mean a Chibson? Well, I feel fine because I only spent $200. I watched a lot of videos on how these kind of guitars are made and stuff like that, and I have not seen one where it looked like a sweatshop. I could be wrong, but I haven't seen anything like that. I haven't seen any child slavery or anything like that. I don't know. This, you know, do I feel a little guilty because I didn't buy American made? Yeah, I do, because I'm an American, and I do want to support, and I have plenty of guitars on my walls that I've supported American shops. So, you know, as far as that goes, I feel okay about it, you know, and this is pretty much a guitar that was supposed to be wall art that is actually paying off to be a little bit better. So, in my opinion, I did fine for $200, and in fact, I think it's quite comparable and is quite playable. I'm excited to do a little bit of touch up to it and get it even better. I think the most I'm gonna spend on this extra though is $200, which means I'll have a total of $400 into it. And man, I'm gonna have a smoking guitar for $400. So, see what you think, watch, you know, and like and subscribe if you like this kind of thing. Let me know if you want me to do another video like this. Click the like below and subscribe. Thanks, and this was my guitar time.